about Michelle, just because you're smiling and just because you're quiet, or you're not as loud as he is, that doesn't take the venom out of the sentiment of what you're saying. You're still being very condescending. You're still being very rude. You're still being very mean, and kind of being a Karen a little bit, because you're just completely blowing the situation out of proportion. Welcome to Vida Rosa. I'm your host, Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned. But before we begin, I would like for everyone to check out my website, LaVidaRosaStyle.com, where you can find cute accessories like the ones I'm wearing right now. Also, I have my Christmas collection up, and the limited edition fall collection is only going to be up until the end of November. So make sure y'all check out my website, like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, y'all, before I get into the individual couples, I really want to know, where are the experts? Where's Pastor Cal? Where's Dr. Pepper? Where is Dr. Pia? Like, these people just got married, and I feel like we haven't heard anything from the experts. What episode are we on? 5? We probably see them 2 to 3 times a season. And I thought the whole point of having them was to help guide these people through the process so that they could have some sort of counseling or advice, or, someone that they can call on when they're having issues. These are strangers. These are people that don't know each other that are now married to one another. So I imagine there's going to be some conflict. There's going to be some turmoil, and they are nowhere to be found. In the older seasons, like when they would have issues on the honeymoon, like this whole David and Michelle thing, an expert would have stepped in by now. Even if it was just a FaceTime call, they would have, talked to them individually, got them together to see what the issue was. You know what I'm saying? Maybe have a mediator there to help give different perspectives and, give advice, tools to use, something. But like I said, they are nowhere to be found. And I saw that Pastor Cal was on a podcast recently, and I didn't watch it, but I'm just like, why are you on this podcast and we don't even see you on the show? We see him in the beginning talking about why they put the people together, but we don't see him actually doing work. So I'm just confused. Like, what's the point of having them if they're not involved? So anyway, that was my little mini rant. I'm going to start with Camille and Thomas because, once again, they are the only glimmer of hope that I could possibly have with any of these people. You see them do an activity of, what was it? They were rowing a canoe, and she took the lead on it. She was, telling him when he needed to row. And she said that she prefers to be with a man who is more so of a leader, that she doesn't mind taking the lead, but that's what she does every day at work. And she would like to be able to, I guess, rest in her feminine child, be submissive, and have the man leave the household. And she hasn't been getting that from him yet. He's been kind of passive. Then they go to dinner, and they have a very serious, vulnerable conversation about their families. And one thing I noticed about Thomas is I think he just naturally looks sad. I don't know if that's just his general disposition or that's just his resting face, but it's giving Eeyore. Like, he always looks upset, and the corners of his mouth are kind of downturned. His eyes are kind of droopy. I do feel bad for him, but it's like his face just makes it even more sad. But he talks about how he found out that he was adopted through Facebook. And at first I was like, why would his adopted mother, the one that we saw at his wedding, why would she post that where he could see it? But it turns out it was his dad's ex-wife that posted that. And this whole time he thought that was his mother. And it turns out that she wasn't. So he was completely devastated. He went and confronted his father about it. He said he wanted to tell him at 18, but he didn't want him or his brother to look at him any differently or love him any differently. And it just caused him to kind of have an an identity crisis and, you know, feel like he doesn't know who he really is. But then his dad ended up getting cancer, and, you know, it just solidified their love for one another. And, you know, it was just devastating when his dad passed. But that whole situation caused him to be very cautious when it comes to opening up in relationships. And on her end of things, she said that her parents were divorced at an early age when she was like 10 years old, and she always felt the need to kind of be the glue of the family and make sure everybody was at peace. And I'm like, that's borderline people pleaser verbiage. But she seems like she, in this relationship at least, she doesn't mind saying what's on her mind. You know, they did have a kiss on the beach. It was very awkward because of the way he the way he prefaced the kiss was, "Oh, I always wanted to go on the beach and, you know, kiss the love of my life in the rain." And, you know, they awkwardly kissed each other. It's like, oh, okay. Then when they went on the little outing with everybody and they were on the boat, he promised that he would be more assertive, and, you know, when he felt like he wanted to kiss her, he would just go for it. Like, he's been trying to be polite, but now he realizes that she wants something more. So she says she wants butt smacks. So hopefully he realizes that, because she ain't looking for no PDA as far as like holding hands and, you know, little pecks. She said she wanted to be smacked on the butt. So we'll see if he's up for the challenge. Allan and Madison. So when we first see Madison, she is working out with David. And y'all already know, last review I said I feel like Madison and David were in the wife swap couples, and this only added fuel to the fire, because I'm like, how did y'all just happen to run into each other? And then y'all are just in here working out with each other, discussing your partners with each other. Neither one of them seem to be having the best rapport with their partners, but then together y'all just get along so well. But anyway, she starts talking about how she is still feeling standoffish from Allan. Pretty much telling all his business, saying that he was in a toxic relationship. He had been in a relationship for 4 years, in a toxic relationship, and they had been broken up for 1.5 years. And she keeps talking about that as if that's not enough time to get over a breakup. And I'm like, no, you're just looking for any reason to leave this man because you're not attracted to him. Just be honest. So then when she was done working out with David, she went up to the room and was talking to Allan about it. He didn't look too enthused that she was working out with him. He was giving her the side eye a little bit. But I personally feel like he should have went with her. I feel like in situations like this, when y'all are trying to cultivate a relationship, you're strangers, you don't know each other, you're trying to build a foundation, step outside of your comfort zone and try something new. I don't care that you don't wake up early to go work out. Go work out with your wife. There's no reason why another man should be working out with your wife and you ain't right there. And then vice versa with her, like whatever he's interested in. But I feel like that was a misstep on his end. They start talking about his personality, and she was low-key saying that she felt like he was a pushover. She was like, I don't want to say pushover, but that's what she was calling him. She kind of sugarcoated it and said that he was more so of a caregiver. I'm like, that is not the same thing, but okay. She just feels like he's far too concerned about other people's feelings. And he said that he's not tiptoeing around her feelings, but he very much so is, because he knows that she's not attracted to him. He feels like she's out of his league physically, and he knows that she has a type and that he doesn't fit into that type. And it's causing, you know, him to be nervous to just, you know, do him around her, because he doesn't want to turn her off. But what he doesn't know, you already turned her off. She already got the ick. And it's really not his fault. I'm like, she is so stuck on looks. Why would you sign up for a show like this? Why would you let somebody else choose your husband? If it's that serious to you, if you're that picky, you know, she keeps saying, oh, well, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. Not really. Not really. You're not giving this man a chance based off of how he looks and based off of how he dresses, because they had a conversation about this later on where he was, you know, saying he does have an eclectic look, and, you know, sometimes he might want to throw on a faux fur and a chain, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're taking it too far. But nothing that I saw that he's worn so far has been too crazy. I feel like if someone that looked like Brad Pitt was wearing it, she wouldn't have a problem. But because she's not attracted to David, he has more of a nerdy look. You're so stuck on your type, but no shade, your type didn't marry you. Your type didn't put a ring on it. So I would give this man a chance. He seems like he really wants to be your husband. He wants to get to know you. He wants to like you. You know, he got a good job. That's a good man, Savannah. He is a little bit long-winded. You know, when she asked him about his glasses, he went on this long explanation that it didn't take all that. All you had to do was say, you know, you met an older couple somewhere and you liked the shades. The man was like, oh, here, you can have them. That's it. See how I summed it up in 5 seconds? That's all he had to say. I appreciate him, you know, being himself. It's just not going to work, though. Let's move on to MM and Ikechi. They talk about, I guess, what you call their dating life in high school. And she said in high school she really was a tomboy. She wasn't, you know, really into going out on dates and stuff like that. And he said that when he was in high school, he was too intimidated and insecure to approach the girls, so the girls literally had to come to him. And one girl just told him, yeah, we're going on a date Saturday night at 7, be there. And so it sounds like he's accustomed to more so being the prize in the relationship. At the wedding, you were kind of get that vibe from his family, because they kept saying like, oh, he's big on social media, he gets a lot of attention from women, or how are you going to be okay with that? How you feel about that? He talks about how his dad kicked him out when he was 16. And when she asked him why, she wanted him to go into detail about it. He said that I guess he was having a bad day and I was just having a good one. And I'm like, there has to be more to that story. Like, I know he said he's very similar to his father and they used to butt heads, but what happened to the point where your father would kick you out at 16? What he said just sounds like a major oversimplification. Like, even if, let's say his dad is crazy and abusive, or, you know, just wild and treated him wrong his whole childhood, at least have that explanation. But just the fact that, oh, he was having a bad day and I was having a good one. I'm gonna need a little bit more detail added to that situation. But he said once he was kicked out, he had older college mentors that would give him a place to stay or give him money. And it was a feel-good story. You know, he was saying that's what encouraged him to want to be a counselor and want to help people, you know, people from the hood and people from poverty-stricken areas get a leg up when it comes to college and help people get scholarships. That's a beautiful thing. But his stories just never quite add up. And Imam don't ask enough follow-up questions for me either. Like, can we get a little bit more detail on what happened? But anyway, he did eventually say that his mom, you know, told him he could come back home. And I'm just like, why didn't you just call your mom in the first place? Why did you have to go stay with these, what sounds like other young men in college? Where did they even get the money to give to you? When he was telling the story, he just kept impressing upon her that it's such a sad story and I've been through so much, and, you know, it'll make you just want to cry. And the way he just kept impressing upon her, like, she needs to be emotional, she needs to cry. And he wasn't even crying. He wasn't even truly being emotional himself. He was just kind of like being performative. I'm just like, you can't force nobody to feel that way. I feel like she was sympathetic towards his story, but she don't have to shed tears over that. That's when Mem said she was taught to keep her emotions inside because she came from a Nigerian family and they didn't believe in, you know, crying and things like that. And plus she was the oldest girl, so she had a lot on her shoulders. And she said her parents never actually said I love you to her. One of the only times she ever heard I love you from her father was their last conversation on his deathbed. And she really was emotional in that particular confessional. She broke all the way down, and she's trying to make an effort to be more vulnerable now. Later on, after the men had their hangout, the women hung out with each other. He came back and told her that he told the men that she was his homie, and she was very much so thrown off by that. So far, she's been pretty much go with the flow. She's been, you know, feeling it with him. She's been overlooking all the red flags. But that one in particular did not sit right with her. She did not like the fact that he called her his homie, because I'm not mad at her either. Like, y'all are married. What do you mean, homie? And he was like, well, shouldn't you start off with a friendship? And she was like, yeah, but we are married. And she was like, well, what do you want me to call you, the ops? No, how about wife? Simple. I feel like all good relationships do start off with like friendship in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, no, I wouldn't want you to call me the homie either. He just continues to show his hand. I don't think that he realizes that his performative behavior is not ringing authentic in any way at all, especially not on camera. Like, he gives that he wanted to be on TV, and I think that he just wants to look like a good husband and not actually giving his all to the experiment and trying to, you know, be a good husband. So then we had Carla and Juan. Juan let Carla know straight up he doesn't have a lot of disposable income right now. Has a day job of being a salesman, also has a startup. All of his extra money goes back into that startup. He said pretty much he has to pay $10,000 a month. Everything is going into, I believe it's an app. I forgot what it was. So he was just letting her know, like, I know you like to buy your juices every day, your $13 juices every day, and I know you like to go on trips, but right now I just can't do it. You might have to go on your own, and you might have to pay for your own. She said even though it seems like she is irresponsible when it comes to money, that, you know, she's not frivolous when it comes to spending. She just likes what she likes. She likes to splurge on food. And once again, he made that clear. You're gonna have to do that on your own dime. You could buy whatever you want to. You can go on these $400 dinners, but I ain't the one paying for it. It ain't coming off my card. It ain't coming out of my check. Not gonna go by myself. I don't want to leave you out and things like that. Well, you're gonna have to cover it. If you want him to go on the trip, it sounds like you gonna have to cover his half of the trip as well. Then they went on their little boat ride in what looked like a swamp. I don't know what that was, but he ended up turning over the boat by accident. And I don't know how he fell all the way in and she didn't get wet at all. When you looked over at her, she was completely dry and he was completely soaked. But I guess she had quick reflexes. They start talking about how they want to wait for intimacy, and even though they're getting these couples massages and they're completely turned on by one another, they want to take it slow because they don't want their relationship to fizzle out fast. Whenever they were on the bus, it was a very cringy scene with Carla on the bus with the other couples, and apparently they were having intimacy conversations, and she starts talking about how the penis is a magic wand and you have to be careful putting that in the temple. She was telling all the men in there, where you're giving, you're also receiving. And I don't know, I just felt like the whole conversation was inappropriate to be having, not only with that entire group, but with everybody else's husband in that van. Because I would have had a problem with that. And the men were entertaining it. And Juan didn't see a problem with it at all. He was very chill. But it was just the fact that she was so, I don't know, she was over talking to everybody. I think she was a little tipsy. She was doing a bit much on that van. She was telling all the women they need to have all their breasts out, their boobs out, take off their tops. It's like, girl, this is not Europe. She's very much so in her brand of being a free spirit. So I feel like that's why everybody is like letting her get away with murder, but that whole situation was completely inappropriate to me. Finally, let's talk about David and Michelle. Once again, I think it was, I was side-eyeing the whole situation about him working out with Madison. Because like I said, I really feel like this is one of the wife swap couples. But, you know, he ended up telling her that he was previously in a relationship 12 years and that it was very serious. They were, you know, on again, off again, and they were engaged at some point. And he actually still has a tattoo of his ex's name on his chest. And he hasn't said anything about it because she hasn't asked. And at first I was like, okay, this is something that should have been told her. But at the same time, I forgot Michelle is the same one harping over the fact that he lives at home, which is, once again, I don't never want to make it seem like that's nothing to be concerned about at all. But just the fact that she would not let it go, I understand why he didn't want to tell her nothing else for her to constantly throw in his face. Madison did tell him that he needs to push back on her. He needs to ask the questions that he wants to know. And, you know, he should get some answers of his own since she consistently wants to point the finger. And I agree with her on that. While he's working out, she's on the phone with her sister. And she tells her sister that pretty much she's been a jerk to him. She admits it. And, you know, she's not trying to be, but she hasn't been able to have any fun. And it's because you're a Debbie Downer. You're constantly bringing the negativity in the situation. David is one of those people that you can have fun with him. Like, even if y'all are not on the same page about everything, he's one to put everything to the side. And if y'all want to go jet skiing, if y'all want to go parasailing, something like that, you could really have fun with him. She doesn't want to open up in that way because she is still harping on this living at home. And I'm just like, why are you still here? Why don't you leave? If it's that serious, if you really cannot get past it, and I don't think many people watching the show would blame you for not getting past it. But to just sit around and constantly just wag your finger and be condescending and look down upon him, what's the point? Anyway, he took Madison's advice and asked Michelle about her previous relationships. The fact that she's been single pretty much for 6 years. She said she's been on dates, but nothing serious. He asked about the last relationship. It lasted for 3 years. And she said, oh, it just fizzled out. And he's like kind of trying to push her and ask her like what happened, you know, why didn't it work out? You know, just trying to know a little bit more about her, and she's being so guarded and not really giving him much in response. That's when he decided to tell her about the fact that, you know, he was in a relationship previously and has the woman's name still tatted on him. And, you know, she asked why would he do something like that, and he said he was in a long distance relationship with her and he wanted to profess his love to her, and he was like, I'll go get a tattoo right now with your name on it. And he went out and did it. I guess that could be a little romantic, but in a ghetto type of way. You already know she's gonna be very judgmental about that. She was like, I would never get anyone's name tatted on me. I would never ask someone to do that. It's like, okay, like, I get it. You would never do it, but you don't have to judge somebody else for doing it. He said that he wants to get it removed. He, you know, is very adamant that he's going to do it. I think he wants to get it covered up. And he's like, we can make a date out of it. And I was like, whoa, David, you're taking it too far. Just go get it covered up. Why would I, as a date, want to go with you to get your ex's name covered up? So then he got down to the nitty gritty. He was like, do you find me physically attractive? And she pretty much said she's having a hard time finding it. Her friend said that she most likely would be attracted to him because he's light skinned, he got the man bun. That's pretty much what she said. And he's tall. She's not even being open at all. Like, this is literally your entire type. Like, maybe some things about your personality might be a little different, but you can't even find him physically attractive. When it comes to these conversations that they're having, she is very short, very rude, and she'll just get real quiet and like stare at him, like with her nose in the air, just like looking at him like disgusted. And so she told him, I just feel like you're living in a fantasy land. And he said, because I'm trying to make this work, because I'm asking you questions, and getting vague answers from you, you're not even going in depth with the answers. And she was like, well, you're not asking deep questions. It's like, but when he asks you the follow-up questions, you're once again being vague. I wouldn't keep pressing someone for information when they're clearly not trying to give it to me. I can't force it out of you. I'm not going to waterboard the answer out of you. If you don't want to give it to me, I'd do the same thing he's doing. He said he didn't want to push her too hard because she'll shut down. And so then he asked her, well, what's your relationship with your parents? And she was like, why do you want to know that? Girl, what? That's your husband. Those are his in-laws. On top of all that, he said, I'm close with my family. You see, I'm close with my family. My family is, I love them. I want to know, what's your relationship with your family? What's so crazy about that question? It's not even that intrusive. Like, David is so much better than me. Like, I would have been snapped out on her. Like, she's acting like David is holding her hostage. Like, he's blackmailing her to be there. You're not even enjoying the vacation. One thing I appreciate about David, he's enjoying his vacation. He's still going to the pool. He's still walking around, doing activities. Even with her not participating with him, he's not letting her drag him down on this vacation, okay? And also, he's been upfront with everything from the jump. It's not like he's hiding anything. He's been honest. You may not like him, but he's being authentically himself. She asked for space, and he decides to go to the pool, and he was like, you're welcome to come join me. Later on that day, she continued to want space. He texted her, he called her, and she had an issue with that. She didn't, why is he texting? Why is he calling me? How dare your husband check on you on y'all's vacation? How rude, how insensitive. She was just completely being negative, and he didn't understand where he was going wrong. So when he met up with the men, he decided to ask them for advice. And I'm sure they thought they were giving good advice, but they didn't know the full situation, because he is being very nice by not sharing the full details and not telling how just nasty her attitude is. So whenever they met back up with each other, he asked her, what were your expectations before meeting me when you decided that you wanted to get married at first sight? She said that she wanted someone that could match her lifestyle and teach her things. And he was like, well, do you think that I will ever be able to live up to that? Pretty much she, in a nice way, said, I don't know, I don't think so. And he was like, well, what do you want from me? What can I do for you? And she was like, pretty much she felt smothered by him because he texted and called her, and he just could not understand that. So he's trying to give his side of it and trying to tell, I'm just trying to make the best of this situation. And she just kept saying that he's talking over her. The thing about Michelle, just because you're smiling and just because you're quiet, or you're not as loud as he is, that doesn't take the venom out of the sentiment of what you're saying. You're still being very condescending. You're still being very rude. You're still being very mean, and kind of being a Karen a little bit, because you're just completely blowing the situation out of proportion, especially when this man is doing everything he can to make you feel more comfortable in the situation. A lot of people would have threw their hands up and walked away. And that's exactly what David did at this dinner. Threw his hands up and left. He had to go get a drink. He was tired of dealing with her. And so she was just so shocked and appalled. Oh my God, I can't believe this. And so when he came back, he apologized for storming off the way he did. But he still feels the same way. He wanted to have his space now. And she was like, good, I need my space anyway. Turns out, you know, he pretty much left for the rest of the day. And when he got back home, he slept on the couch, she slept in the bed, and they didn't even really have a conversation about what happened. During this trip, she really didn't even talk to him when the cameras were not present. I feel like that's she's reminding me, y'all remember that girl from the other season, Miss I'm a Good Person? She's not as blatant with her dislike of him, but she is like almost trying to push him out of this vacation. And it's supposed to be a honeymoon. So then they go on the boat with the other couples, and she's literally the only one not having fun. Everybody else is, you know, jumping in the water, drinking, mingling, and she's over by herself, staring off into the ocean. David tries to have a conversation with her, and she said, oh, I don't want to do this today. She shuts it down. That's when she pulled the producers to the side, and she said she's ready to give up on the whole thing because she knows she's doing him dirty. She knows that he's not a bad guy. All he's doing is trying to get to know her, and she's treating him like a villain. And so the producer asked, well, you know, what were the reasons why you did this? And I feel like instead of trying to manipulate the situation and trying to get her to stay, they should have just told her she could go. At this point, we messing up David's mental health dealing with her. He shouldn't have to deal with that. But anyway, he signed up for this torture. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this episode down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I'd love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Peace.